Meeting to order at 3:38. First item of business is approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay, so this is 2 meetings ago.
Okay.
I had these in my computer, and apparently I never asked the board, the committee to approve them. So I didn't do the 21st minutes, we'll do that next meeting, but I think we should approve these minutes.
Yep.
Since we apparently missed it.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second. Minutes approved. Okay. The next item of business is the treasurer's report. Want to walk us through it?
Yep. We'll start with the treasurer report, then we'll go to there's cash flow on here too.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start with the treasurer report. In general fund, that includes the ePay account, which has MFT funds, the water payments come through there, and just other state revenue like taxes that we get in there. The checking account, the payroll account, the state forfeiture account, the federal forfeiture account, the K-9 account, and the ambulance service account. That has close to 2.2 million combined in there. The commuter parking lot is about 91.5. 911 account has about 22,000. Cicero TIF account still has that $25.17 in there. And then the GO bond fund, which includes debt services account, the CMB money market, the capital improvement account, the savings account that's at AJ Smith, and then that's it. And the Cicero escrow account, which now has been closed since this date because we paid the taxes on the property on Cicero. And that has a total of 2.681047.43. Individually, the ePay account has 900,000. Some of that has to be kept in there for the bond payments that are coming up this year. Checking account's 900,000. Payroll account it's 11,000. State forfeiture 55,000. Fed forfeiture 68,000. K-9 has 15,000, and the ambulance account at 247,000. All these numbers are as of January 31st. I'm still working on the February ones. Commuter lot, we already did that. Capital improvement account has $1.9 million in it, and then the Cicero escrow account had 109,000 in it at that time. If you look onto the next page, it's a breakdown of, or the next couple pages is a breakdown of all the different revenue streams we have there. This is all through January as well.
Could I make a comment, Ryan, which I think would be very helpful?
Yes.
On the sales tax. Could you pull out, since you had, I thought I said, you had a,
Home rule line in there?
yeah.
I do on this, on mine, I don't know,
No, it didn't print out, so
Okay.
could I please make a suggestion, which I think would be very beneficial for the board?
Okay,
We need to see every month, don't put the home rule sales tax in the sales tax.
you don't want that included in there?
No, because it distorts it. It's gonna distort it. For
Okay.
us to look at going back.
You want to see it separately?
You want it separate?
Yes, I would
Okay.
like it separate, and I think that would probably be helpful because it distorts us comparing.
Okay, that's
the
fine,
true
I put a
sales
note on the
tax.
home rule one that said
Right.
it was included, but I didn't know how you guys wanted to see
No,
it,
if you
so-
could just keep the amend this and just do the straight sales tax and then
Okay.
include the home rule, which I did see on something you
Yeah,
sent us.
Yeah, it's in the, I updated it after because I did, when I
Okay.
first sent the treasurer's report, I didn't have the home rule sales tax numbers at the time,
Mhm.
because I wasn't sure how they came in. Like, I didn't know how they reported it to us, but it actually comes through the fax, and it does, before it just said sales tax, and
Right.
now Now it does specify.
Got it about $60,000.
Yeah,
Right, but I go every month, I go to the Illinois Department of Revenue, and I've been tracking it, so.
okay,
Are you finding out about it because of the fax?
Yeah.
Now? But
Fax.
there's a way also to get it on the, is it on the Department of Revenue?
Yeah, all you have to do is
It's
go
on the
to,
payment report.
even,
Is
all
it?
you,
yeah,
Okay.
or you can just go as soon as,
I was working with Ryan on that.
you can just go to the Illinois Department of Revenue, and it's there.
yeah,
And it breaks it down by sales tax and then home rule
Home rule
sales
sales
tax.
tax,
It
yeah.
breaks it down every month. They usually,
it comes through on a fax as well. Every morning, we get a fax of the prior day's disbursements.
okay.
So that's how we got those numbers for that.
And maybe one more suggestion, if it's not too much trouble. Could you include the ambulance collections on this report, the monthly,
I could,
could you?
yeah.
I just think everybody's been asking for that too. I think that would be real helpful. I don't know if anybody else has any other suggestions.
I got a question. The gas tax revenue, that's the 3-cent gas
That's
tax?
the 3
That's
cent
the 3
gas
cents,
tax,
right.
Separate from the motor fuel tax, which is after
Motor
that.
fuel tax is the normal,
What we
What
have from
share,
the state.
what we get from the state.
Ronner's not cutting that, right? He's cutting the income tax?
We don't know. You know,
He wants to
everything's
cut.
on the table, yeah.
Income tax will be the big one.
Do you guys have any other
Funny,
questions?
we didn't share in the increase when they increased the income tax
To 5%.
several years ago to 5%.
That was correct.
Now that they're cutting it back, we're gonna share in the increase supposedly. Okay, so you'll be able to add that?
Yeah, I'll be able to add that ambulance collection.
Okay. So this was just another comment, and I made this the other night at the committee meeting, but it was nice to be able to look at this ahead of time before that, but it was nice to see, I think, every single one of our revenue categories showed a pretty significant increase, at least for the first 6 months, let's say, of the fiscal year. Motor fuel tax, surprising, I think that was the highest it's been in the last 10 years, for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. Similarly with sales tax, although I'm looking at the version that has the home rule sales tax in it, so.
Why do you think that is? Motor fuel tax going up
I
considerably?
don't know. I don't know if the state's catching up or if people are, gas wasn't exactly inexpensive in May, June, and July, but maybe people are traveling more, I don't know. Interestingly, if you look at the months, August was a huge month this last year.
Right.
Almost 3 times what it was.
Right?
Usually August is like $30,000 to $37,000.
And the same with May.
Yeah, and May is also a huge number.
The good thing about that is that motor fuel tax revenues can be used for different street repairs, for different sidewalks. I think we can even use MFT money for certain phase 1 engineering, so.
There's a lot of things. You can
Use-
use it for certain salaries.
Yeah,
I actually did some research on it recently because one of the plow trucks is actually down. So he was actually asking about that, and it says you can use it for asset management and equipment maintenance. I'm certain if they're like designated for roads and things like
Heavy
that.
duty
Yeah,
streets, like a plow.
yes.
All right, so the gas tax is 3 cents a gallon, whereas the motor fuel tax is a,
I think it's a percentage of
It's
what the state collects,
it's
but
a
I don't know what
pass-through
the
from the
percentage is.
state. We get it from the
Based
state.
on our population. It's a percentage of the state based on the population. They don't try to measure what each town does. It's just here, Midlothian is 14,000. That's what we get percentage.
It's our piece of the state MFT funds based on population. They don't usually send anything with that, right? They just deposit that
It just
to the
deposits,
state.
right? Any other question on the treasurer's report part?
If you could just make those amendments and then
Yeah.
maybe email it to us, unless anybody else has any comments.
I don't think so. We'll start, thank you also for I handed out for the committee members, Ryan had put together this similar format, a schedule of the property tax revenues collections. Actually, if you could put that one in that same file.
Okay.
It's easy enough to do as well.
Yeah, I could add that in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I know it's a lot of things to be updating every month, but that's the bread and butter, that's all the revenue right there.
Yeah.
So it's usually a signal when things are looking up or a signal of trouble, so. we could have those all in there, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, and Ryan, the March property tax revenue, that is as of what date? The 230?
Yeah, what day did I send it to you? Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday this week, I think?
Tuesday, so as of Tuesday, that's how much.
So
we had.
it's probably gonna be higher though?
It's gonna be higher,
Because the
definitely.
taxes were due, what, on the 3rd?
Yep.
March 3rd.
Yeah, it's gonna go up, that's why I had
And
it,
I'm sure there are people that weren't paid until the 3rd,
Yeah.
so that's probably gonna,
I mean, just looking at the last couple of years, March was obviously a significant one for collections.
right, so I'm sure that's gonna go increase pretty substantial.
and that January amount that you see there, that negative balance is because we're taking in money for the Jawa bond
Mhm.
still, and so we had to pay that out, so I categorized it to that, because it's not really revenue for us. So I categorized it to that account, so it would hit that as well.
Do we have that in some type of segregated account for that payment?
It goes into that, ePay account or whatever, one of those accounts.
Did they take the bond payment out of there automatically?
No.
No, we have to
Do
do
it to
it.
wire them or?
They probably should be in a separate account, you think?
Well, yeah, the trustee, they want us
I mean,
to,
I asked,
they want us to do a direct to the trustee now. I got a call from Java, they want us to meet with the village and saying, here, send Cook County this stuff, it goes to Amalgamated directly.
Yeah, I asked Ryan about that, I thought that was.
they said they were gonna start doing it, it's just a matter of
When they start?
yeah.
Well, if we already, it's already in place, great. If it isn't, then PNC wants it. So.
Yeah, and then that February number, it shouldn't change when I do the bank reconciliations, because I took it right off the report. But if I find more money when we do the bank rec, I'll add it in there,
We'll
so
add
it's
it.
you guys.
That bond is not listed on the bond payments we have there, right?
The Jawa bond, no.
Yeah. Do we know when that one's due?
I just paid it in January. It's due every
So we
January.
just paid it already?
Well, ideally, they want it to come in every month, is what they wanted, to get it directly. But then I guess the last couple of years, they paid it in just January when it came up, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're taking it from tax levy dollars, it would seem to me we would just want to pay it once and be done with it, right?
Yeah,
Pay it the whole thing.
And that's the annual payment, 48,821.
it was actually a little higher than that, it was like 62,000. But we got a few tax payments in the month that are probably around 15,000, so.
Anything else on the treasurer report? Thanks for having those things in.
Cash flow projection, yeah. If you look at the first page, it just has a list of all the accounts like I mentioned in the treasurer's report. The bond payments, I put it in for fiscal year 15-16 on the bottom there and broke it down by that A and B as well. Which A, I believe, it looks like I forgot a number. It's supposed to be 387, not just 87,000.
Which one?
A on the bottom there, where it says to be paid out of restricted funds.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
No,
what's
yeah,
the
387.
It's supposed to be 387, not just 87. Oh, no, that's not 387. Hold on, sorry about that.
So it would be the total of all the A's.
Yeah, it's not 387.
I know the other numbers, right?
The other one's right,
That's
that's
the
good.
2010 bond.
Do you have your calculator?
Yep.
Calculator.
Right now.
It's eight something.
$867, $257, so this,
It's
The six
866.
The six is
Six
missing.
is missing.
867?
Yeah, 257, 51.
And together, they equal that
Yeah, together they.
total bond payment.
Yes.
1,593.
So that's the bond payments for that, and then just the cash flow, the next page, analysis. For March, I estimate the property tax at 900,000, just because it's kind of what it's been in the past. That, it's been pretty high in the past, and we didn't get as much earlier as we thought we were gonna get. Yeah. So, that's why that one's so high, and then we got by the end of June, we're still above what, this is probably one of the better projections we've had in a while. That's considering how much we should have by the end of June 2015. The outstanding bills, we still have 2 water bills, not including this month, not including March. And then we have the City of Blue Island dispatch. We still got 9 months of that, which we already have agreement with them that we were gonna pay. Before, we were paying the past as many months before as we could. So if we could get January, February of 2014, we would. Now we've made an agreement with them that we're gonna pay the current month plus 5,000 until we get caught. That 5,000 until we get caught up.
So I thought this number was higher at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were actually able to knock it down pretty good so far.
Did they send us something telling us that?
We had a meeting with them and signed it and everything. So
So they don't surprise us with the bill.
yeah,
So we're paying the current month plus another 5,000 to work off the outstanding old bill.
correct.
And what about the, how about the mid-mark bills? Have we been paying, they've been assessing early charges,
They've been assessing them.
but we haven't?
We have not been paying them. They haven't said anything about it. So
Okay,
also the water rate went up
yeah.
from them. That's why this March bill is higher than the January, February at the bottom.
Another 15%.
Let's just keep tabs on what the late charges are that we're not paying so that we don't get
Hit with the-
surprised.
Yeah.
Okay. So this looks at least for the next 4 months.
I have a
Still
question.
black.
I have a
Yeah,
question,
please.
under April, you have figure of property tax 75,000, where historically it's been about 15,000?
I just had it in there just in case we got trickle effect from it.
All right, well, I think we need more than just in case, because there's a big difference between 15,000 and 75,000.
Which one?
Here. Right here. Historically, we've only, in looking at the prior report, it was 15,000.
I mean, last year we got 782,000 in April.
Well, that would be though probably on the timing of when the bills were due, and I don't have the bill in front of me. I mean, it might be correct. I don't know if anybody else has any comment on that. The other comment that I have is, I think, Ryan, you kept the other revenue pretty consistent. And I'm wondering at some point, and maybe we should keep it that way for now, but maybe that should be adjusted based on the increase in revenues.
Increase in revenues from,
Everything we're seeing.
Yeah, well, motor fuel tax has been
you know, I
maybe 10,000 more.
I sort of have a question if motor fuel tax should be in restricted funds rather than general. I mean,
Gas tax is restricted as well.
so why, because it says here unrestricted funds, so why are we putting it into the cash flow analysis if we can't use it for anything else besides the bond payment and the motor fuel tax definitely is restricted to streets. So I think, you know, I don't want to take that out, but I mean, I think we should take both those out because
Well, we can't touch the gas tax.
we can't touch the gas tax and the motor fuel taxes. Those aren't unrestricted funds, those are restricted funds. As I see it.
We always include them as part of our general fund.
Motor fuel tax was never general.
No.
Gas, I think, was often. You know,
Our own gas tax, we're not restricted as to how we use it, other than we have to pay the bottom of it.
well, our own gas tax, you know, gas tax basically is now restricted because it's really set aside in a separate account, is that right?
Yeah, it's in that other account.
Okay, it's in that other account, so really, it's, I think, restricted. I think motor fuel tax is very restricted because you basically use it on streets and maybe some things that have to do with streets.
Correct.
Equipment, like what you were saying.
Correct.
So I think they should take that out. What do you think? What do you guys?
No, I'm going back, and it's been in the reports, but I don't see any.
MFT was, in the old days, MFT wasn't.
No, but I'm going back
Yes.
to even when Joe McDonald was doing these
Yeah,
reports.
yeah,
They
okay,
were,
yeah.
it was,
But I don't feel my own feeling is that's not true.
you're right.
Because we don't put well, we do put part sales tax in, the leftover part of the sales tax.
I mean, I think he included it in here because that beginning cash balance that he has here has that e-pay account included in here. That
Well,
one
that-
where it holds the MFT and the 3-cent gas, and that one that's included in this beginning cash
Now,
balance.
the e-pay account is also water.
Water, correct.
See, that's,
No, it's confusing.
I think that's, somehow we gotta figure out what's in water and what about the surcharge, the 1035?
That goes in there as well.
Yeah, see, I think that should be.
Because it's those are enterprise
Yeah,
funds.
so it really is like, it can only be used for water. Well, but there's water revenue in here too, right? I mean, so in other words, 325, that's part of that is water revenue, obviously. Part of it is the surcharge. To make this cleaner. and
Water
neater-
surcharge.
Yeah,
sales
to make
tax.
this cleaner and neater, really, the water surcharge should be
Out of there.
out of there, because really, it's only supposed to be paying for a bond. I mean, I don't know about water, water is supposed to be for water too, but I mean,
Okay, so maybe to solve this, could we have another category, another revenue category that would include water surcharge, water, and,
yeah.
well, you know what, well, even, yeah, we could pull the motor fuel tax out of here,
Mhm.
and the gas tax,
Mhm.
out of the revenue, because we have it on here.
Yes.
That would make
It's all-
sense.
It's all on there, but
So-
the thing is, it's the same thing as the sales tax restricted. and-
Right,
It's
so
a
it should,
bond.
I see what you're saying, so we could just eliminate those categories, does that make sense? Then maybe the other thing that which would probably be helpful, would be to have another category added outside of this revenue account, set up somewhere, here or on here, that would show every month our total water collections and the total surcharge fee. Would that be helpful?
Sure, because when we're doing this,
Yeah.
we're really got a false projection here because the water can't be used.
Or anything but water, it's.
Well, part of it is the 400,000, right? I think, but I
Yeah,
mean, but the rest of the water can't be used for anything besides water. So when you're saying, gee, it's in the general fund to be used for anything, that's not true.
Ryan, the water revenues and the surcharges and garbage fees and sewer fees and admin fees, those all post when the bills are generated, right? Out of Locus, meaning like when they're printed and sent.
They go into AR.
Do we know where the revenue side of it is? Are they all going to one?
When it gets
Right.
posted, yeah, it goes to the specific accounts, yeah. As they update at the end of the day through the cash register.
So we should have when a water bill's sent and there's $200 of water and $80 of garbage and $31 of surcharge. When those post to the ledger, they should be going to different
Correct.
accounts.
Correct.
Right.
So we should be able to know what, like,
Yes, yes.
I'll take my consulting hat off. The revenue lines, we should be able to know exactly what was billed and what was sent out. What's collected is a whole different story.
Yes.
And when things are collected, they're not matched up that way against, if someone pays $100 of their $30 or $300 bill, there's no matching up of how much was for water surcharge, et cetera. So, but we should be able to tell from the ledger how much was sent out in bills that's for water, how much is for surcharges,
Correct.
et cetera. So we should be able to get to. I think we're maybe being confused about the commingling and the e-pay account,
E-pay.
because that's actually when the payments come in, where it's going.
Yes,
That's not where the credit
right,
is coming when the
right.
bills are actually
It's in the
generated.
account now, but then it gets meted out and divided into the separate accounts with it's. But when you're doing a cash flow analysis, it just sort of bothers me that,
Because we don't get a true picture.
you know.
Because that whole eBay account is included in that cash balance.
Right, you're
Which is,
just following along with what Joe
Yeah.
did.
Joe set up. And you bring up a good point, somebody may not, in the perfect world, everybody would come and pay their entire water bill,
Yeah.
but that doesn't, you bring up a good point, that doesn't
Well, we're still
happen.
responsible for making the bond payment, even
Right.
if 400 people don't
Don't
pay
pay
water
their
bill.
bills, right.
I mean, you know, the question came up over time is that, you know, how do you know that your money is going to the accounts it's supposed to? And I'm sure it is here now, but I mean, it'd be nice to say, okay, here's 1035 that went to, you know, the bond fund, you know? So
Yeah.
we shouldn't have to wait for the audit to tell that everything's good, that's all I'm saying. Because the audit says, yeah, here's the money that you collected for this and this and this, but, you know, it'd be nice to be able to look at it and say, okay, just like what we have separated out for the other bond funds, you know, what we just looked at, we should be able to know about the infrastructure.
And maybe there's a different type of report available after the bills are generated that shows, you know, 3,000 water bills were just sent out, and here's the amount that was related to water, here was
Right.
garbage, here was infrastructure payment.
Mhm.
Because you're right, once the bills actually go out and people start paying them, you're seeing all the cash in the same account. But the funds or the revenues for those should all be posted to their own accounts in
Right.
the ledger.
It just makes it makes us look better than we actually.
We need a true picture.
Well, we do need a true picture exactly to know where we are.
So we're gonna move gas tax and motor fuel tax to a different section here. Is that?
MFT is a separate, it's a restricted fund, and so is gas. Gas is the bond.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we have to move them to a separate account, because we have them,
We were saying not show them on the.
Yeah,
right,
show 'em on this.
they're already here, we're showing what our revenue is on this.
Right,
Treasurer's
but it just
report.
doesn't make it, again, this is stuff that will never go to a unrestricted fund.
Right,
And if we could find out some way of reporting water so that we'd have a truer picture of what's going on, how much is water, how much is, you know, and then really we should look at it, of course, but you know, the expenses too, we do the same thing. The expenses, some of this is water expenses, some of this went to the water department, some of this went to the sewer department. So, I mean, it's the same thing, you know, how did that break out and how does that look, make this look different?
Okay. Anything else on cash protection?
other than we actually, even with making those adjustments, we're still gonna have money at the end of June.
Yes.
And
But
the
that
pro-
beginning cash balance includes the gas tax and the motor fuel tax
Right,
in that. So, I mean, those are restricted, so technically, those
We
aren't.
overstated by that amount.
mhm.
Correct.
As we're really, when you look at it, will probably be, because gas tax by itself,
Those
in
two-
March was probably about $125,000, $130,000. That's 154 for the whole year, roughly, the gas tax. So, I mean, if you did March and April, that's only 2 months. So really, we were probably about 130, you subtract 130 from 275 right off the bat. And the MFT is 25 times, what's it, 25 times 12? 300,000? Yeah. So when you're looking at that, we're under. I mean, we're probably in April, well, no. June, we would definitely be under, not until, but we wouldn't have a positive balance of it by any means.
And the next property tax bills aren't gonna be due until what, generally, August 1st?
August, probably.
August
for
1st,
lucky.
July 31st, if they
Yeah,
go out on time.
right around there.
So maybe August or September, we would have the next phase, next round of collections.
Yeah.
Until then, there really isn't anything coming up.
Yeah, previous years, it's been July and August.
July and
Okay. July and August?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
that's 3 years.
Richard,
I'm just looking at the,
They went out June 30th, they were due July, end of July, last couple of years.
Okay.
but if it's going out through
Okay.
June, then it'll be.
Yes.
Not as
Okay.
bad as it was about 5 years
So
ago, when
just-
most of them were coming out
Okay.
in September,
September.
October. Yeah.
So June and July, it looks like from what we see right here, is gonna be deficit. Looks like utility tax is estimated a little high too. That just means probably about 15,000 extra per month, from what I see.
Income tax is probably light the other way.
Well,
Although
when you
depending
do
on
a
what
state
they have
income
in-
tax, it's
yeah.
like, you know, get a dartboard, go, whoop.
I mean, would it be worthwhile to split the restricted funds from the unrestricted funds as well as the expenses?
If we
As
could,
well
if we could, that'd be,
Cash
well,
expenditures.
like the enterprise funds, the water and sewer, if we could split those from the general, that would be golden, because we really, that makes us look better than we are, because we can't take the water.
As far as the cash flow reports, you have restricted funds and your restricted cash flow,
Right.
you know, expenditures, and then your unrestricted funds and your other expenses.
Going forward, should be fine, going back to see what,
Oh, no.
you know what I'm
Forget
saying?
that.
Look at that bank account.
Just
and see
going
what is
forward.
what and
Just
what
going
is what.
forward.
Forget it,
Just
going
going
forward.
forward, yeah.
You can't expect that. But basically, we're trying to set it up more like the audit, where the audit has the governmental,
Yeah.
you know, the enterprise. And because enterprises and commuter lots are restricted, we can use some of that, you know, and so on and so forth, but we can't use much of it.
So the beginning balance, March 2015, 1552, you said that includes,
That includes MFT, gas tax, anything that goes in that e-pay, or includes that e-pay account. Let's see here.
so then,
Water.
so
Water.
realistically,
Also water.
when you take the bottom line for March and bring it up to the beginning of April, that number does not include what came in that month for,
Well, it will, the accounts that I have on here, you know, MFT, that 3-cent gas tax are on there.
They're included,
They're
Gary.
included.
oh, I got you, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if you take, realistically, going forward, if you take out those two accounts, it's 152,000 that would come out of that bottom line in June.
152,000?
Yeah, well, if you include just MFT and gas tax. Well, I'm just saying for these months that are here,
Just for the months that are shown.
just for the months that are showing the projection here.
Okay.
So that would leave you with 123.10, 110, but
And then
that also doesn't include what's in that account for MFT
The
already.
starting balance.
You know what I mean?
Right,
That starting
yeah,
balance is
exactly.
off.
So what could we, you know, what did we do if we were short, or, you know, or spending money, how would we spend it? We can't touch MFT, we can't touch gas. We can't touch water or sewer.
I think it's gonna be really critical now that we meet monthly, because we're gonna have a problem, and we're gonna have to address it, right?
Will be tight as we get to June, July, August.
Right, so we've
The next
got,
property tax payments coming.
so we're gonna have to
That's
monitor
gonna
this
allow.
really, really closely.
Well, now we have the tools. And if Ryan can help us with trying to break that out and pulling his hair out, trying to break all that stuff out, okay, that's even better, you know?
Yeah.
But we've got some tools to work with right now. Now we got something that's pretty cool. Trying to make sure that the other revenues and other expenses sort of match up to what is actually real. How did you try to balance that at some point? or
Those other revenues and the other
Yeah.
expenditures,
Yeah,
I just kind of went with what Joe had in the past.
Okay.
We're doing it.
okay, so I think that's another area where we have to
Okay.
make sure it's matching up to reality as much as possible. Guessing on the conservative side.
Yeah,
The other
Once
thing,
things are up to date and you know what the actuals are, it's easier to.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, I mean, right now, we're close to being able to look at that, but not quite, but
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, that's what Joe had, but over time, you know, it seems like if you're talking about that the revenues have gone up, or maybe the revenues gone up, maybe the expenses have too. And maybe when you're talking about this expenditures, when do the, May, right?
that was my next
May is-
question. Have
May
you
is the
done a
next-
calculation for the contract increases?
I did not do that, no.
Okay, so I would
I'll add those
suggest,
in there as well.
could you provide for both police and fire and email that information to us?
Well, and also, if you could separate out the union and the non-union people, because it's a question whether,
I'm talking about what we have to do contractually
well, I
right
know,
now.
but there's a different, for the board is gonna look at, certain, especially certain members of the board are gonna say, okay, so everybody should be treated the same, so what does that do for us as far as money? And I think if we could say union and non-union, then the board should be able to look at it and say, okay, this is what we're doing. If we
We have the money.
grant raises to
Right.
everybody,
And if we do that calculation, we can see how that's gonna impact us.
which is,
It's gonna change, yeah.
it's gonna change
Those
the.
payroll numbers are gonna
Oh, the payroll
Right.
numbers are gonna go. Because not only is there payroll, there's also, pension, IMRF, and, social security, that will also go up because of that.
Well, not for police or fire, because they're not covered under
Oh, yeah.
social security.
Right, just the pension.
Mhm, just the
But
pension.
if you're non-union,
Right.
you got all the other people there.
Okay.
But now we're getting close to being able to see where they're going, which is pretty good.
Yeah, bank recs for February are almost done as well, so.
Well, this is giving us something we can actually look at, which is good. The treasurer's report is giving us a good handle on stuff, as well as the,
Other information on the projection.
yeah, something we haven't had for a long time.
So the middle months of the year, we're running at that $500,000 a month deficit. And I'm assuming there's months of the year that we run in
Run ahead.
Higher, yeah.
Like March.
Excess.
Yeah, it's a property tax. I mean, that's where you get the bulk of the money.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue here. What are we gonna run into here as far as a deficit? I mean, we're talking about we're being a deficit in June. What will the deficit be in July?
Payroll.
Well,
Another
Payroll will go up.
500,000 plus the increase in payroll.
But the other thing that we have to, and it's not gonna fix it, but in June, we'll get vehicle sticker money.
Yes.
We'll get a bulk
200.
of vehicle sticker money as well. So we have to keep looking at these trends,
Mhm.
because that will help us in June.
Right.
But July and August will be
Right,
iffy again.
Payroll's been running about 185 to 190 range.
right.
So it'd be nice if that 195 here kind of helped include the new contractual
Increases.
raises.
Yeah, that 195 is like
It's
closer to
high.
the higher
It's
end,
higher,
but every
right.
once in a while, or not every once in a while, I mean, I would say at least one out of every 4 payrolls is that high, at least.
Payroll goes up in winter or summer? For you guys?
Doesn't affect us as much, it's just based on manpower, how many people are staffed. That's where we've been killing, for a while, we're killing the overtime because of understaffed, and we're getting close now, so you should have noticed the last.
So for you, it's
several
more about,
Payrolls, should have decreased because of that, so.
so it's just staffing levels for you?
Right,
Doesn't matter.
Overtime should decrease, is what you're saying.
right.
It has decreased. Yeah.
Ours should have very minimal,
Probably.
the winter, we throw, when
I would think ours probably decreased substantially.
They're projecting-
Several weeks. hasn't it,
Yeah,
last
the only
several
overtime you
weeks?
guys have had really is when we got the grant for the,
Grants,
Yeah,
For
which we
that.
get reimbursed for that.
yeah, we get reimbursed for that, so.
Summer, winter doesn't affect you guys too much either?
The winter, yeah, occasionally, depending on, if it's going to be subarctic or if we're expecting, 17 inches of snow, we might throw an extra guy or two on. Especially just to be there, mostly to help shovel the driveway so we can wheel a stretcher up and down or something.
Public Works is the big change.
Public Works is a big one, but yeah.
So what is their,
It doesn't affect us that much at all.
I mean,
so it's public works, summer, winter?
Oh, exclude.
Should be winter.
I would have to say winter.
I would say winter,
It'd be
yeah.
higher.
Including,
but why?
Canaan too, it's not restricted.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's trustee Christ is, sorry, but, Ryan's trying to follow what Joe did, and, that's good, but I sort of, when we're looking at the restricted revenue items, I don't know if there's a reason why ambulance service and police canine are in restricted funds. Is there a reason, does canine have to be restricted for some reason, or is that all used for specific
It's
purposes?
restricted, yeah, it's restricted, because it's a non-charitable, non-charitable, it's a charitable account type thing.
Is it a
Nonprofit.
501c3?
Not-for-profit.
So it's a
1C3.
separate account.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But the ambulance
That's part-
service-
The ambulance service, I don't know why that would be,
That's not restricted.
It's not restricted,
no, I mean, once it's collected, it's used for general purposes.
It can be used for anything. I think what they did was they marked it as restricted to try
Make sure that,
not to, so it could fund the ambulances and this, that, and the other thing, but it's not a restricted fund.
Okay.
You guys,
Should be-
because you guys have actually have taken from it in the past.
If we're gonna put it on here,
Then it
right,
doesn't,
then we don't have to
take it off of
exclude it
there.
in here.
Okay,
We can
Okay.
still track it and know how much is coming in there.
okay.
Then that helps our position.
then it will go the other way.
It
Well,
goes
that's
the
what
other
I'm
way.
saying. I'm saying, let's look at everything now and
okay,
try to make
I have
everything on
another,
a level playing field.
okay, and then I have another thing that I just thought of. Are you getting anything from, the, state comptroller's office of the IOC program? Are you getting that?
Which
Well,
one's
they
that?
garnish the tax returns and stuff.
Oh, the tax return, yeah, the collection stuff?
Well, just from the IOC,
Does the state give you any money?
yeah. Based on people now are filing their tax returns, and we're in line to intercept those refunds, right?
I don't think I've seen any yet.
That would be strange.
Who's
March, April,
our, we have like a point person who does that?
at the IOC.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Maureen?
Well, I know the MCA just
Right.
sends the stuff to the IOC and they
Right.
take care of it for us. Some of that IOC
So
does.
we should be getting
If actually
something.
MCA sends it to us, then we have to send them.
We need to find that out.
Wow,
Oh, okay.
maybe nobody, they didn't collect them.
They sent it, they sent
Find
them.
that.
Just got it yesterday.
I'm sorry, Hal, what was
So you
that?
did get some,
We just, yesterday, we just had checks for.
From from MCA, yeah. We got checks from MCA.
No, it's not MCA, this is separate.
this is from the
This would be from the state.
Office of
controller.
Comptroller.
This would be
No,
from
no,
the
Office
Office of the Comptroller.
You can submit certain debts and they will garnish people's
Yeah,
tax returns.
I'll take a look and see if I don't think we got any from them yet, but I'll double check.
Well, it,
MCA told me that they send it to IOC directly.
It might be.
So
like-
it's there.
There's timing schedule maybe. They may wait until they actually have so many, right?
I
Or
don't
they may have a
know.
schedule when
I
they
wonder if
actually
there's
pay
any way we could
municipalities.
find out.
Collections?
MCR collection company for the police, they send it directly to the IOC. whenever
And who do they
vote.
pay?
And
Them or us?
then they pay
Village.
MCA, and
So
then
we're
MCA
waiting for them
pays
to
us.
send it to us.
Also,
Got
so
those checks
the
Doesn't
state
come
one's gonna go to
direct.
MCA and then come to us.
So that money you got yesterday could have been
Could
part
have
of
been part of that,
the
yeah.
IOC.
Because it was higher, it was definitely higher than normal this past.
so, okay, so the IOC stuff goes back, it doesn't come directly here?
It was
goes-
MCA.
Okay, okay.
It was definitely
Oh.
higher this last check we got from MCA.
Can they,
It
is
was
there a
about 12, it was
breakdown?
about 12,
It was 17, it was.
total was 17, around 17, I think.
Yeah.
Most of it was all P tickets, I think only like $500 was move tickets.
And typically, you've been receiving about 11,000,
Yeah, 10 to 11.
so that is an increase.
Yeah, it was
I
Normally,
guess
higher.
somebody needs to contact them then to make sure that if they get anything from the IOC, that it's broken out, so we see. Because that was kind of important to see what we're gonna, would you agree?
Yeah.
I'll take a look to see if the paperwork had any breakdown. I think it just listed the ticket number and the name for the
Okay.
people, but I'll double check on that.
But blue toes are going up too.
Well, that's pretty much why the check was bigger this period, because we had a substantial amount of blue toes that were located. And we actually had several of them paid right on the seat, money over, where they didn't want their car payment. They know it would have been even more money.
To get it out of,
Another $1,000. So basically, they just called and, it's like, oh, wait, I'll give you a minute, I'll call, and, they paid $3,000 they owe, or $4,000, on separate credit cards and everything. There's two that way, or two or three that way, so that was kind of a period that, so yeah, there's been more, but there's no way of predicting, other than they're trying to find, the CSOs were the ones that found the last five, we have 2 CSOs now, and they were the ones that found, the 5 recent, and were able to get people actually to make a phone call and pay it immediately.
So those higher checks from MCA may not include anything from IOC.
But we need to,
I'll
can you try to find out,
I'll
Ryan?
double check on it, yeah, I have all the reports still, so.
Okay, and maybe call MCA to find out if they're gonna break that out when they submit the payments. Because we do wanna kind of track to see what we're getting, because they've got, I don't know how much, I know they've submitted quite a bit to the IOC, right?
I'm sure they have that. They have to have it.
They have to have that program.
Millions.
I have a feeling this one had it on there because it listed out all the people that were deceased as well, and I've never seen that on the report before. So that, maybe that was anybody that didn't file, or, normally you don't see that, so that's why I was
Could they
confused.
be
when-
garnishing estate tax returns now, maybe?
Only the state tax.
Right.
So I'll take
And
it.
lottery.
Estate tax.
Estate tax.
I'm sorry?
And lottery winnings.
Oh, lottery was
You
too,
can
yeah.
garnish those too.
So I'll take a look at that and see.
Okay. Can we send water bills there too?
I think we should. We're gonna get to that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Anything else on the cash production? Brian will make those changes.
It'll help us,
That'll help.
it'll help us see it.
So it's probably a good segue into the financial reports and kind of where we're at with the actuals. I know the mayor gave us a spreadsheet about 2 weeks ago, but it still wasn't exactly like the locust report package that
So,
we were waiting to see.
the big locust one?
Yeah, it was a updated version of, I'm sure you saw too, right? The Excel version of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she went in and added some budget numbers or something.
Oh, the payroll,
Yeah.
payroll selections there, yeah.
I know there were issues before you finished. I know there were issues with getting payroll in the system, and
Yeah.
that's obviously the
Is that-
driver
That's
for.
the only thing that's missing on it, right?
I,
I mean, everything else, bank recs are updated through January as of right now. February is halfway done.
if memory serves me correctly, it was the payroll was the biggest item that
Payroll's the
wasn't in
biggest
there,
item,
and that's
correct.
by department. And so that's the
It
other,
was
you know,
just down there by total payroll.
it was just down there as a
Yeah,
total
correct.
amount, yeah. So are we still struggling to get the payroll in there, or?
I started manually entering them now because Paylocity is just a huge headache right now. So, I mean, I thought going through Paylocity, changing the report would save time in the long run. It'd take a little bit longer to start, and the report's still not correct, so I just started manually entering.
I'm assuming this is the reason there were certain, like, we have payroll lines for certain roles, like, you know, fire chief or police chief, and it was like 0 for
Correct.
parts of years.
That's part of it, yeah.
So is that bad mapping from Paylocity's side where they're not?
It's still part of, that's also included part of the manually entering too, because the way it breaks down most of the report, but I don't think it breaks it down correctly.
Do they give us an electronic file that we put in a
You
locus?
can pull it, because you can't electronically download it. You can download it, but you can't
Import it to locus?
import it because somehow when whoever set up the reporting through Paylocity on our side, some of the GL numbers don't line up, or they don't have GL numbers. So you can't import it if it doesn't have a GL number. It says error,
Unknown.
unknown, and error and all this stuff. So that's what I was trying to get fixed.
On the Paylocity side?
On the
so
Paylocity
that it
side,
could
it
just
still
import
hasn't
it.
happened. So on the report side, I print it out, you can put it in an Excel spreadsheet, but it all comes in one cell. So you have to parse the entire thing first. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to do one payroll run. Just to get it all, because you have to get it set up somewhat clean so you can even look at the thing. So then once you do that, and then there's somehow all the state tax and federal taxes are all combined in one lump sum. So you have to break that down into each GL number. And then a lot of the extra insurances and things like that don't even have a GL number. So you have to figure, it's just,
Just something we need to find somebody new.
I don't
to do
know.
payroll.
I mean-
to Paylocity.
we had to figure out how to get this report corrected.
And
Is the main
Paylocity
thing.
can't do it.
They can't do it.
You should be able to export from them and just import into the
The thing is,
system.
you have to know exactly what is going on, what is wrong with this report,
Yeah.
and tell them. So I tell them, they're like, well, you have to get it in writing. So I do it in writing, send it to them, and they're like, well, they change it, and then I didn't have the exact. It's hard to know exactly what's wrong with this report, because it's just an Excel spreadsheet. That's all it is, and it says GL number this. It doesn't go by employee or deduction or anything
The
like that.
mapping they do, because I've been through this, the mapping they do is they take your GL and you tell them what line is, gotta take that number, and they then do that recap, and you get a summary report, no detail. It's just a summary report of the numbers. So, and if something changes in midstream, or you change how you're accounting for it, you now get it unknown, and you don't know what the number's for. So,
We may be better off starting a whole new report through them. Like just setting up a whole new report, say scratch the one, because it's like an extra, it's a user created report.
yeah.
Oh,
So we might be better off creating our own new one in the meantime while entering and just use this report from now on. And you know what, that's where we're kind of at.
There's gotta be some type of profile for every employee, right? Or it's defined what
No,
salary line you come out.
Well, the totals are usually coming from the department totals.
Should be department
lines
code,
of-
yeah.
Of the payroll itself.
But what about departments where we have multiple roles? Like, for example, in Public Works, we have a superintendent of streets, we have a superintendent of water.
If
There's
they're not in a
amounts to
separate
feed
department, you're not
Yeah,
gonna get
that's
them in the right
that's the
place.
problem
They have
as
to be
well.
in separate departments.
They have to be kept, like when you type in their hours or whatever, you can put it to each department. So like when Public Works gives their hour sheet or whatever it is, and they have, say this guy worked 40 hours in streets, 20 in sewers, 20 in water. You can break it down by that. And it breaks it down on the report. Or theoretically it should break it down on the report. But the problem is you don't get names, or I think it's just GL numbers in a lump sum.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it did it correctly, you know what I mean?
That would be okay if it was aggregating it right by the department numbers, though.
Correct.
Because you should know that if it's for streets,
It should go.
it goes
this-
to count 1, 2, 3, and if
Yeah.
it's for sewer, it goes to count 2, 3, 4. When it
Yeah.
aggregates it, as long as the total, we still have the pay registers I've seen by person,
Correct.
where you could see in total by department, but they should almost be self-checking that so that they have an account number for
And then, and
our ledger.
We had issues with it too, and getting.
so I think we have to add more department codes in Paylocity.
Yes.
I think we should do that because you need to, I mean, the fire chief doesn't have his own code. It's just fire, you know what I mean? So it's like, when you export it, it's not going to that fire.
We have a
chief.
line item in our
We have it
expenses
on
for
our-
fire chief salary.
We have it on there,
But
but
years ago, used to have
Paylocity
payroll
doesn't
feeding in
have
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of more of doing a whole audit of this whole Paylocity report and just the whole Paylocity as a whole, like adding department codes, things like that, making sure all the GLs line up.
So until then, you've been, or in the
Manually
meantime,
entering,
you've been manually
correct.
entering payroll.
Correct.
Okay. And are we, what time period are we up
Through
to?
June right now.
Through June?
Yeah. It's a headache, right?
But it's progress. It's
Yeah.
through June. You're putting it in by department, obviously.
Putting it in how that report, Joe showed me a way that he manipulates this report to get it, just a couple things that you have to add in there and subtract, like, not subtract, but divide up, like I said, that tax line item, where all of them are like lumped in there. You just have to go back to the report you have and just write it out. It's just the process of doing it all. And then you have to manually type in every GL number with the amount to put it into Locus. And it's 2 sheets long of this big print. So it's,
Is there any, is it be beneficial to do this ourselves instead of Velocity or go to another company?
Well, we recently looked at a different vendor for total financial package and BSNA. And Ryan made the suggestion that they could do payroll. I mean, we're doing payroll anyway. And just send it to Paylocity to produce checks, basically, is all they're doing.
and the tax is part of it.
It's screwing up all
I
the
mean,
numbers in the meantime.
yeah, and that would be whatever the savings is from what we pay, what Paylocity for a year, which is, what, about $20,000.
It's about, yeah.
The
Between-
cost of the whole package, that's financials, the general ledger financials, water billing,
Payroll building.
payroll, building,
Permitting, everything.
licensing, some licensing, not vehicle licensing, that's totally separate, but It's almost $150,000 estimate.
To implement it. And what was it, a year after that? What'd you say?
I'd have to pull it out again. But
You thought you said it was about 11?
yeah, it was just the licensing fees after that, yeah.
It may not be something we can afford at this juncture.
Well, you gotta consider everything with that too, so I mean.
Well, when I'm just
How much
looking-
you spend in the payroll to be able
But
to
when
get
I'm,
what you need, and what's the value of that?
but when I'm looking at our cash balances and where we're at,
We can get a grant?
pardon me?
I says if we can get a grant someplace, that, you know, that'd be wonderful.
Well, if you can find it, that'd be great.
Because the locust fee went up as well too.
Mhm.
It's up to like 6,500. That's not including Paylocity, which is right around, it's probably around 15,000. So we're sitting at 21 right there.
I mean, and I'm gonna go, okay, Brian, we'll go, Blue Island just put in a different software package, Harris. And we're gonna take a look at.
What's it called?
I don't know what the cost of it, but.
No, what was it called? Did you see me?
Oh, it's from Harris. I forgot it at my desk. I'll
Is
get
that
it back.
that
Just curious.
MIS or MSI one, or whatever it is?
Yeah, and they just installed it, they're not fully finished with their installation, but they were farther behind than we were. They haven't codified their ordinances since 1940, so they're moving up into the, current world, so we're gonna go over there and take a look at it and see, how they did and what their estimated cost is.
Okay. Any questions on, anything else on reports? If nobody objects, I might suggest we go to budget and since we're going to be
Okay.
talking about cash and reports and stuff, and it kind of all ties together. So how are we going to approach the budget this year, given what we have and what we don't have? You give any thought to it?
I started working on the budget for, just going back to prior years. I looked at 13 budget, or 13-14, and 12-13, just to see like how you guys decided to go from 12-13 to 13-14. So I started doing kind of the same thing in 14-15. And I started kind of doing the same thing for 15-16, but implementing or using the new numbers as well. You know what I mean? So kind of working on that right now. That's where I'm at with that right now. So that's where I'm preliminary stages with that.
I was gonna bring, and I forgot, the old, remember what we would get off the locust? You forgot to bring it too. I mean, what are the chances of us getting something like that where it would show, how many prior years did it have?
It had, so it was a printout by department from Locust. It had 1 or 2 years of previous actuals for the fiscal year. And then there was a column that had whatever so if we were doing it in March, let's say, it had 10 months of actual, or 8 months, 9 months of actuals for this
Okay.
fiscal year. There was a blank line. And that was produced for this is back before people were exporting and trying to do things electronically, but that was printed out and those pages went to the department heads. So that you could see, here's your, last 3 years worth of payroll in the fire department, here's your last, 3 years worth of office supply expense, et cetera.
Gasoline,
Gasoline
everything.
tax.
Okay.
It
They
took
took
every
those for-
general ledger.
Line item.
They took those for
Oh.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, and figured out what they thought it would be and crunched some numbers and then came back
Okay.
and said, here's what we would think it would be. Previous treasurer would take it and consolidate it and report and say, here's where everybody's stuff is added in. And we could look at it that way. But the basis or the starting point for that was what the actuals were. And the 2 budgets you've seen likely from us are what we did in Excel because we didn't have anything out of the system
Okay.
the last 2 years, which is why it wasn't loaded in there either. So that was we were guessing based on when we did the 13-14 budget, it was based on the most recent reports or the last reports we had from 12. So there's
Okay.
probably some things, we've now rolled forward 2 years in Excel without really seeing, here's the 3 pages of financial report for the police department or for public works. Which is kind of one of the reasons that the actuals by department are kind of tightened up, or, you know, that we have an idea what they are.
But none of that is calculated in Locus, is it? That's just plugged in.
The numbers? Yeah, I don't, if Locus had capabilities to actually project numbers or to put something in that said add 5%, we never saw it. Everything we saw was
Then you could do a
Paper-
better job.
paper
doing it
copy.
in Excel.
I took, yeah,
Exporting it.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
took, and when I was with the police department, I took the pages for the police and I actually put them in Excel. And I said, here's the last 3 years.
Mhm.
I added a page in there and did the, by employee, and I gave it to the chief and said, here's pay increases, you know, here's what's gonna happen in May when when the salary increases go in. He knew there were gonna be new officers starting in various months, and he layered that in. And that's not something that came out of Locus, it's something we built in Excel.
Yeah.
We could probably do the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
use it, for lack of a better term, of, you know, a standard or boilerplate template for all the departments. But the genesis is, or the key point of that is the starting numbers have to be something, you know, accurate that they can look at and see
Basically,
the trend.
use historical at this point, and then put in the variables for the next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to know the things you knew about that we're gonna change.
Right.
A lot of that budget is payroll.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
sure it is.
I mean, you know, Ryan, this goes back to the problem Ryan's having, you know, trying to put it by department or, you know, fire chief or assistant
Yeah.
fire, whatever it's gonna be, you know, that has to all be
And
there.
those, I think those categories aren't as critical. Now, you know, if there's 4 lines of payroll in the
Right.
fire department, I'm going by memory, but, you know, there was a chief, there was a, there might have been a deputy chief line, there was a overtime line, there was a paid on call line,
Think about,
buyback, part-time line.
Part-time,
Yeah,
yeah.
those probably aren't as critical if you're just looking at the department, you know, I mean, as we have more accurate information, we can build on that history and get back to that, but ideally, that mapping is pretty critical, I guess, from payroll.
We want to give the departments a chance.
We want to give the department,
A chance to have input, because they
Yeah.
haven't had that.
they haven't had a chance.
No, they have not, and it's really critical that they see their actuals and they can give us feedback on that.
Alright. So I'll try and find that report in Locus that you guys are talking about. It shouldn't be too hard.
You know
We have
what?
hard copies.
We have hard copies. Don't waste your time. When I'm in here on
Okay.
Monday, I'll try to remember to bring a copy of it for you, okay?
Okay.
It wasn't pretty, you know, but
No.
actually, if that report could be exported, which I'm sure it can be, we just
Yeah.
never got it that way. If that report in that format could be exported,
Is
it's
it
probably
kind
an
of like the
easier way.
report you guys have now already? You know, because it breaks it down by each line item.
It had the row sets were the same in terms of the line items. You know, there was a column for the account and had what the account name was. But the columns were different. It was,
Okay.
you know, it was full year, whatever, 2012,
Oh, okay, it
2013.
wasn't like month or,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
so I'll try and see.
Which I'm sure you can, I'm sure there's a way in Locus to do that. If you
Yeah.
have a chance to play around with the reporting, and there's probably a standard format in there. It was
Yeah.
it was basically a worksheet, you know, that it was made to be produced in paper and say, here, write numbers on it, but if you are the fire chief or the police chief, I think, at least today anyway, for me, I'd rather sit there on the computer, put the numbers in and see what the
Yeah.
totals are doing, than be doing
Right.
it in a pencil and.
Right, and they're automatically updated. You can
It's
constantly
updated.
look at your bottom line.
You could consolidate it too, by the way, when you get it back that way, instead of
And
having.
instead
to
of
put
just
it-
using actual dollars and Excel, you
Yeah.
can use percentages of whatever, yeah.
So if you look for those reports, I'll look for what I built for police and see if maybe we can come up with something that's
Okay.
the standard template we can use, but we really want to, we want the department's heads to know what's in there and own it,
Yeah.
so they're not surprised either. Any other comments?
No.
Anything we're forgetting about the budget?
No, but I think it's critical that the department heads.
Well, the percentages were there too, right, for how much they spent percentage-wise for the whole year?
Yeah,
The
there was
actual,
the-
the actual
Actual.
reports have that in there,
Right.
like percent of budget, annual
Right.
budget spent.
Right.
The budget ones, I don't think did,
No,
because it was more
but
like a
I mean, when
worksheet.
you're getting a report now, then the department head looks at it and says, whoa, it's been 50% or 10%, you know, whatever. It's simple.
Yeah, okay.
I think the ultimate goal is to produce a monthly report like that,
Yeah.
to give to the departments and to give to the board, so they can see where everything's at. So we know where we're at, because we really haven't
a lot, I mean, things have changed in most businesses, people are forecasting a lot now.
Right.
Mercer does it, we used to do it every quarter, now we do it twice a month, which is kind of
Right.
overboard, but when I think about, the reporting that used to go out, it was all paper-based here again, would say, here's your 8 months actual, but we could, in theory, if we were able to produce that and give it to department heads on a somewhat regular basis, we could actually put, and it's exported to Excel, you can actually put columns in there, and we could have a running budget all the time. It wouldn't have to be a big process at the end of the year. If every month, you just add another month on of actuals, you're constantly looking ahead, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
It makes that task a lot easier come the end of the year.
The current period, year to date, this year, last year, and this year against budget. That's,
Mhm. Pretty standard.
well, month to date,
Month to date,
year to date.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so Karen will bring you some of the stuff that we used to have on paper. I'll
Yeah, I
send you what I
remember,
have
right.
in Excel.
Yeah,
And
this software package, the write reports was real slick. Looks like you
So when
sign
you
your
were looking at it?
report, ding, 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 it's done. Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know what your impression was with that, but it was pretty quick.
Locus was a 2006 or 2007 thing that we implemented here. And it was not the most expensive of the 3 finalists. It was just the middle of the road. And I don't remember exactly why we picked that one, other than I think it had the best, this is scary to say now, but I think it had the best utility billing.
Yeah,
At
all
the
these
time.
companies I talked to, they just kind of rolled their eyes when it's the Locust.
Locus,
They converted a lot, yeah.
previous Locus
Yeah.
users. Okay. All right, so maybe that's, and then, so we'll send you that stuff, and we'll
Mhm.
put budget on the list of things to talk about at our next meeting.
At our
too,
next
so.
meeting.
Okay. So the last thing we had was salary compensation policy. Karen, did you want to tell people what you sent out, or
I didn't even bring a copy of it. Well, I sent it to,
the policy?
I sent it to the policy committee,
And I didn't bring it either, so
and I think I sent it to you.
I did see it.
Did anybody have any comments?
I think I emailed you.
I had
Couple.
one too many S's and
Yeah, I think
something.
that was. It was, so I thought it was succinct and to the point. We need some rules of the road for how we address them, how they're presented, approved, and awarded. What were we gonna add? There was some,
No, I think those are gonna be added to another policy.
To a different policy,
To a
that's
different policy, and I've actually asked trustee LaRue to help with some policies, and he's agreed, and I've given him some copies, and when how I approached this, I looked probably at policies of, 4 or 5 different municipalities, and I kind of picked what I thought was appropriate, so I think it's pretty solid. And I think if anybody thinks, if you want to give it one more go through, let me know if there's any gaps in it, but I thought it was pretty solid.
that's something, are we gonna, there's a policy committee planning to meet on it, or we're just gonna? you're gonna
I
present it
think,
to
no, I
leadership?
think we're going to just try to start working on these things and present them as we get them done.
I reached out to several towns, Blue Island, Park Forest, also, stuff like that, to send me their manuals, so.
Okay.
I've got one already.
A lot of them are online.
It was tough to find.
I don't think Park Forest is online, but like Orland's is online,
You could
Tinley's is online.
find an employee manual. We're looking more about, I mean, it all eventually go into an
Right.
employee manual, but we're looking for specific policies.
Okay, well, whatever it takes, because we've all been a little challenged with our duties here, so I appreciate what you're doing.
Working this weekend, see if I can, some next week.
Okay.
So you're saying the policies will be presented one at a time or in a group or what?
As we get them
As we're
developed.
done.
Fair enough?
So you expect, as far as this committee, on board to send this ahead to the big board?
Yeah, I think we are. Don't you think we're,
Sure. Ask it to be put on
the agenda
the agenda.
for Wednesday night? Okay, I could do that. I can get it, I'll make the correction and, okay. Okay.
What about other pay issues? Do we need, what's the, are we waiting for that policy, or do we need to talk about the requests from,
Why don't we get
the
the
requests
policy?
we've received for increases?
I think we need to get the policy adopted, but I also think we need to revisit those requests, and I think a lot of it's gotta be based on, we need to make sure we've got the funds to pay, to make payroll, right? I mean, so I guess I'm just asking, what approach should we use?
I know we asked Ryan to look at the,
Can you
what
get
we've
it?
got in the projection and calculate what the contractual increases will be, right? Would you be able to put together, so these numbers, we'll do it on a monthly basis, starting in May. The two contract departments separately.
What it goes up to,
Total payroll,
yeah.
what it is now, what it will be, and then put a line in with the other departments, one line.
Yeah.
And then if you send that to us, that will at least give us an idea what this number may look like. Give us a chance to consider it. I don't even know if we have a list of all the requests, right? I know there's police requests, there's fire requests.
Public
there's all
Works
kinds
requests.
that are Public Works.
Based on the requests when those promotions were made, that everybody's been on hold, right? I guess is there, could we kind of consolidate all this stuff?
The police staff command is total increase to the village would be about $20,000 a year.
You have some numbers of that,
Yeah.
right? So we can, Gary has that.
And I think the fire
There's fire
department,
structure rank changes.
they're
right?
kind of, we never saw numbers on that.
So I can ask Gary.
Okay.
Okay.
We were asked to, because of this other situation where a couple, some raises were granted, but we were asked to try to resolve this as fast as we possibly could. I don't think we're in a position to do that, right?
Not until we have all the numbers,
This-
right?
No, but I think we can work on what, if we have a list
If we have
of
it,
what the requests are, and then obviously there's everyone else as non-union to consider, but at least we can do some modeling with the numbers. So if we have police contractual, fire contractual, and then, there's some people in those departments, in both of those departments that are not, that don't fall under the union,
Yeah.
so we want to split those up. Gary has information from the command staff. Jerry, I will ask about the structured rank, and he probably has what was proposed for Public Works.
and you know what,
I don't think I have it on paper.
if he, I know I have it somewhere. The latest version.
The other end of the deal is we need to see how we're going to do June and July.
Right.
Exactly, with our cash flow, that's huge.
So in other words, I guess you could actually just take the last month's payroll and use those numbers and split them out between the two contractors, Public Works, police non-union staff, fire non-union staff, all the other employees.
All right.
Does that make more sense?
Yes.
If we can see what if we can see what the dollar effect is.
I can present it to you guys at the next, we're gonna have a meeting, finance meeting in April.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a meeting, but I think we'll try and do some work on the numbers actually before we have the meeting, so
Like you
we
said,
don't
some
just us
modeling.
collecting, we'll try to do some modeling.
And then I can
So if you,
formally present it to you in the
Yeah.
April meeting and we'll go from there.
yeah, we just want to see what all of the requests add up to, what the impact is, make sure things are equitable.
It was about $20,000.
Then the board will have to vote on,
Right.
but that's just for all command staff.
That was total command staff raises, it would work out to about $20,000 a year.
But there's some other non-union employees in the police department, just like the rest of the
That's
village,
correct.
that we have to include in our model too.
The 20,000 was more of a catch-up.
They haven't been increased in 25 years.
So you're going to catch up, and then after this, you go on to what it might be in the future. If would, based on the union contracts, again, you know, would pair what.
That only gets them up to now, but then
Right,
when
right,
there's another
exactly.
increase, they're constantly behind,
Right,
so.
exactly.
And then if I could just interject, when I started working on this compensation policy, it came to mind that we had, years ago, worked on a performance evaluation system. Recall that? And that's how raises were going to be on the performance evaluation system, correct? The raises were gonna be based on performance. So I think we also need to go back and revisit that, and that was gonna be another one of the policies that I was gonna work on, was the performance evaluation.
We had a lot of good work from that, I forget what her name was, but I probably still have the worksheets. so-
Alexandra, yeah, and
Everything was ready.
Ready
everything
to
was,
go.
and so I think we also need to revisit the performance evaluation system in order to really be fair about things. And we paid money for, what was her name from South Suburban College?
Oh.
Alexandra somebody, wasn't it Alexandra somebody? And all the work is done.
Mm-hmm.
There's gotta be a file here, all the work is done, we just have to implement, get a policy and implement it.
Okay, so for April meeting, I have the budget, pay increases, performance evaluation system,
Cash.
probably cash updated, just like
That should be
standard.
number one, cash update.
Yeah, we just know what-
Anything else?
I mean, let's see, depending upon when our meeting is, if it's after the election, before the election, then we might have to come up with more recommendations, revisit the
List.
1.689, you know, figure and see how that actually
Yeah.
came out,
Mhm.
where the rubber met
The
the
ref-
road,
With the referendums.
with the referendum. And some of those other items were put on hold also, you know, the food and beverage tax. was-
Well, we'll have another 1 or 2 months of our actual financials by then too, right? So we should have,
Mhm.
we'll have at least another month's update on here.
Mhm.
To be active, we'll have to go back to the list. Okay.
Okay.
So that's all we had on the agenda. I did pass out 2 pages of the water bills for everybody. This is the standard water report that Maureen's been sending, but as of Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday, the outstanding total past due amount was, for all the accounts, $295,000, which, as best I can tell, is the largest amount it's been since we've been tracking this on this file on August the 13th. So, I will talk to Maureen and we'll figure out a game plan for
What percentage of that is the total?
of the
Total is 783.
783.
So in other words, over 30%, well, no. Yes, over
Right.
30% of the outstanding bill is past due,
About 25%.
It's actually 38%.
38%.
Yeah.
And we haven't had-
38%
We haven't had,
past due.
haven't had any shut-offs, and
Yeah, and based on the list, I think the last shut-offs occurred in November. So we need to get on those, although shut-off lists have been, and penalty notices have been going up
and actually,
They have been going up.
as recently as March, yeah, so February, March,
but no actual shut-offs.
but not the shut-offs.
And actually, Ellen had sent me, and I'm going to share it with anybody who would want to review it, the detail
It's here.
by address of it. And as I went through it,
I had this order, by the way, high and low for the outstanding
Okay.
balance.
as I went through it, it jumped out at me that some of these should have never gotten to this point. The shut-off should have occurred, and I think some of them are at the point where we're never gonna collect this money. Would you agree?
Yeah, there's,
This goes back to Alan's point earlier. Is there any way to send that to collections because they can make payments to collections?
Can we put a lien on the property?
you probably could.
If you were, I don't know if if it's individuals, but I know for businesses, if you are past due to your utility company, they will make you pay a deposit. You know,
Well, there's a, and I think maybe, well, we do have a water deposit, but
But
Well, I
it's
know.
minimal.
$50
Yeah,
water
yeah.
deposit versus our largest residence that has an outstanding amount due is $4,269.
Yeah, that was the one that jumped out at me.
And of that, $2,900 plus is over 150 days old, so 5 months old, more, and they're still racking up a current bill of almost $500.
So why haven't they been shut off?
That's residential?
That's a residence.
Residents, why haven't they been shut off?
I mean, this is an extreme example, obviously, right?
Right.
And nonetheless, in the next highest bill, total balance due, we have some businesses that use a significant amount of water, so they're up here, but they're not past due. But it's just, you know, some really large amounts. I was shocked at the number between $700 and
Yeah,
$3,000
there's
that
two.
we have.
I mean, they're,
If we could force near 100% compliance on water bills and vehicle stickers, there would be no deficit.
water goes to water. See,
Why
that's
isn't there a
my
limit on
point-
this?
My point is that water cannot be used for general. You cannot use water collections to pay.
But we could pay mid-mark.
We could pay minimum on that.
Yes, you get caught up with
Could not be
midnight.
Yes.
waived
But
minimum.
Yeah.
it could be used to pay the water clerk's salary, the,
right, there are certain
Those things, yes.
expenses
Right,
that are
right.
allocated to the water fund. So, yeah, this was really an eye-opener, when I started to scroll down this list. And we've got to make sure that these shut-offs occur on a timely, consistent basis, probably monthly, I would think. It's got to
Well,
be
there a
addressed.
policy for that?
It's in our ordinance, isn't
In
it?
our ordinance.
It's in our ordinance.
And the shut-offs, if you're past due.
The timing of notices.
If you're past due over 1 month, you get shut off? No, it's not.
No, it was like
in there.
10 days, isn't it? There's a 10-day, but it's all in our ordinance.
Mhm.
It's there. We just have to make sure that it occurs on a consistent basis.
what would be a reason for them not shutting the water off? Wintertime, or is there?
Well, wintertime, Maureen just mentioned it, it's difficult for them to find the shut-offs,
Shut off.
especially the new ones that are plastic, the plastic boxes.
Right.
Metal detector can't find it either, so they spend an hour trying to just find where the water shut-off is, you know, you got a public work guy out there for a long time. So,
Is it,
And we have not replaced a few people in Public Works over the last 3 years.
For
So,
$295,000, you could afford to hire somebody to
Yes.
do that.
yes. So, that's something we will work on as well.
And the other question, I have one other item. I had asked at the board meeting, the mayor said she would have it for us today, on the $100,000 DCEO grant.
That Will Davis one?
Yes. Copies or just a listing of all of the payments that have been made to the vendors to date.
I don't have that.
Can you compile
I
that?
can compile it, yeah, I did not have it for, I don't have it for today.
Okay.
That's what we got.
Does anybody else
And
have?
the other grant too? Was 60,000? Water
DCE grant, I sent an email to you.
The fire hydrant one?
Yes.
yeah, I don't think those have been purchased yet. Fire hydrants. That grant goes through
I haven't paid
September
anything for it.
2015.
I haven't paid anything out of it.
Okay.
We got the check, or we deposited the check December 26th,
15,000?
15,000 into the CNB capital improvement account.
Because I think the mayor said that the fire hydrants were ordered.
They may have been ordered, but we haven't got an invoice for them.
Right.
I don't know if they ordered them or not. I don't see that. till
But we
I
didn't
get
pay
the invoice.
anything out for them.
We have not paid
either.
anything out
Okay.
for them.
Yeah, but you did send out an email requesting
Yes.
the information.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they were ordered, we haven't got an invoice yet, or I don't know that.
And Joe would have information, I'm presuming, as to who.
I would assume Joe would do
ordered
that.
them from or got bids from.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, to date, there has not been anything.
call
Hey.
Mr. Stewart. Okay. Anything else?
Police department did add a second shift part-time CSO, so there's gonna be, expected, rough numbers, probably 50,000 more than we pay them, so, a year.
How much? 50?
50,000.
So we have one on in the morning and then one on in the afternoon?
Right.
And he's, what, 20 hours, are they?
There's 50,000 ticketed or 50,000 collected.
Collected.
And he's how many
So
hours a
it's-
week?
We figured 100,000 a year in written, 50,000 in collected.
Was he part of that effort with this, with these, payment of these food tows?
Yeah.
Anything else? Thanks for putting everything together.
And then we will meet now on a monthly basis?
We will meet on a monthly basis.
Probably the
we
beginning of
wanna-
April?
I was just gonna say, is we have a preference as to,
Probably as we
When
get
or a day?
closer, but probably the first week in April, oh, but that's Easter, unless we did it at the beginning of that week.
Easter is on April the 5th.
Yeah, so we're not gonna wanna do it Thursday or Friday, maybe.
And we want to avoid April Fool's Day too.
Lots of them.
Maybe we could tentatively schedule it for that Wednesday in the afternoon, if it works for everybody?
the 8th,
No,
The first.
or the
the
Wednesday
first.
first.
Is it too early?
Wait a minute.
Oh, they, okay.
Yeah.
All right, one, two, yeah.
We can do it
If you
April.
have,
Okay.
It's fine.
if you have the second week, I may be able to have March numbers ready by then.
I was just gonna say.
Okay, then maybe
Yeah.
we should wait till the second
If
week.
you do, if you always do the second week, there's a
Do it the night
very
before.
good chance I'll have the month before.
Okay, then
Does
why
it have to
don't,
be Wednesday?
No, it doesn't have to be Wednesday. I'm just saying, if you have
preference
it
on
next
Wednesday,
week,
or could we keep it on Friday?
Keep any day what?
yeah, day doesn't matter to me, I'm here anyways.
I don't know my schedule yet, but could I let you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have to decide this right
No,
now. We can
but,
firm it up,
but let's just target.
let's look to the 8th, 9th, 10th.
Okay.
Right, of April, okay?
Fine.
I will be here the 10th,
You won't be here the 10th, the 8th or 9th, will be okay?
but 9th is fine, yeah.
All right, so we know what we gotta do. I make a motion that we adjourn at, is that what we need a motion to adjourn?
503 again, whatever.
5:05.
5.
All right,
There you go.
I will second that motion. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.